Hello dear viewers, this is Zahirul Alam. Welcome you all on Frankly Speaking. Our today's guest is Dr. Wolfgang Vollman, outgoing UNESCO representative in Bangladesh, who has been working here since 2002. After serving nearly 4.5 years term, he is set to leave by November 2006. Dear viewers, you know Bangladesh joined UNESCO, the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization on October 27, 1972. Since then, it has been working in the areas especially education, culture and communication and information. Welcome, Dr. Vollman, on Frankly Speaking.
Welcome, thank you.
Dr. Vollman, I mentioned that UNESCO has been working with cultural education and some scientific areas like communication and information technology.
Right.
So in your experience, 4.5 years experience, would you please tell us some, in a nutshell, what were activities in Bangladesh from UNESCO?
Well, UNESCO has been working particularly in two areas, I mean in the field of education and particularly basic education, and in the field of cultural heritage. That means cultural preservation, but also more in the field of music and arts and dance and things like this. I think the bulk of the activity was in basic education, in fields like literacy for adults, but also early childhood care and education, that is preschool education. We worked in the field of educational research, in the field of various kind of studies on primary education, secondary education, technical vocational education, to a vast field of various educational items.
You know, and it's true that Bangladesh has made remarkable success in the primary education and meeting gender disparity, and it has been recognized by the world community also.
Yes.
So, what do you think? What should be done more to provide the learning opportunities for the people?
I think the main issue for even primary education, where progress definitely has occurred, is to confirm a minimum level of quality. I mean, the dropout rate in primary education, for instance, is still quite high. And the first to drop out very often are girls. So I think here the quality of primary education has to be raised, that, I mean, all those who enter in grade 1 really reach grade 5 and have learning competencies, as we say. I mean, they know how to read and write, which studies have been done by various NGOs, and researchers. It appears that almost 1/3 of those who reach grade 5 cannot read and write properly. So there we need some more progress, and then of course more progress in secondary education as well, because the lack of quality in primary education impacts on secondary education.
That's true, but what actions you have taken from your part?
Well, our first action is actually the dialogue with the government, and the second one is also do the necessary research together with other researchers, NGOs, particularly Education Watch, which is a group of academics and researchers working with CAMPE, this campaign for popular education, to find out what is the real progress, what are the dark areas, where do we need further improvement, because after all, government is investing quite a lot of money. And people also expect a lot from education. And sometimes one gets sort of feeling they're a bit frustrated because their children drop out, don't learn really much, cannot read and write. So some more progress needs to be done. But together with government, I think it can be done.
Yeah, that's true. But in Millennium Development Goals,
yes,
you have set, and the world community has set a target to education for all by 2015. Yes. So to meeting that target, that goal, how far Bangladesh has been advanced to that target?
I think Bangladesh has made progress. That's undeniable. I mean, the progress in the enrollment areas in primary education, definitely the gender parity has been achieved. I think, as I said, the quality is still a matter of concern. And what is a big matter of concern is actually the high level of illiteracy, adult illiteracy. And I think here the country probably has to make much more efforts. Not only the government, also the NGO communities, the donors. We think there are something like between 50 to 60 million adult illiterates in the country, you see. That is huge. It's absolutely gigantic. And it impacts negatively on many development efforts. It impacts negatively on even the schools, because children that drop out are very often first-generation learners. Their parents are illiterate.
But it is declining now, the dropout rate.
It is still important, and I hope it will further decline. It has been high. Hopefully it will go further down. But the problem is not only inside that primary education system, it is actually outside, where we have so many adult illiterates, particularly in the rural areas. And I mean, we've been doing studies, the government also has been doing studies. And we hope that, I think, more attention will be paid to these 50, 60 million adult illiterates who cannot fully participate in a development effort, or in good governance, or in democracy, or decentralization, or whatever you name it. An illiterate person has not all the tools to participate like others.
So what's your observations? Did the government pay proper and regular attention to this subject?
Well, I think if you look at what the successive governments have done in the last, let's say, 10, 15 years, there's undeniably some progress. The previous DNFE has been disbanded. Now the BNFE, there's a very good policy paper that has been adopted. I think as far as UNESCO is concerned, we would expect a little bit more action. I think the commitment is there. This is very important. The commitment is there, but commitment has to be translated into concrete action. And given the magnitude of the problem and the fact that government cannot do everything alone, I think we have to trust the civil society as well. I think there's a lot of goodwill amongst the NGO communities, but also unorganized people who are willing to help. So if these different forces can get together, further progress is definitely possible, and I think it's very urgent as well.
So you didn't find any lack of commitment from the governments?
Absolutely not. Successive governments have signed the commitments in the big Jomtien conference in 1990, and the Second World Conference, which took place in Dakar and Senegal in 2000. Commitment is there. I think the bulk of government effort was targeting primary education. But I think people are awakening now to the fact that there are 50, 60 million adult illiterates out in the world, in the fields, in the factories, in the streets, who cannot read and write. And I think everybody has the right to learn, the right to read, the right to write letters or whatever. So I think here we need more action, concerted action. Something is done already. I mean, I'm not saying government is inactive. On the contrary, they are actually quite active. The commitment is there. I think what sometimes hampers is the very frequent transfer mechanisms occurring in the different ministries. There are some people who are quite knowledgeable, and then they are transferred to somebody else. A new person comes in. They're all dedicated to the work. But by the time they really know what's happening, they already transferred somewhere else. So this transfer culture has been probably criticized inside and outside by many people. I think if people would stay longer, for instance, in paying attention to adult education, I think we would have better results. So
would you say that the level of illiteracy here in Bangladesh,
yes,
what is existing at this moment, is a matter of great concern at this moment?
It's a matter of great concern because the number is just so big. I mean, anything between 50 to 60 million is just a big number. We estimate there's something like 140 million people in Bangladesh. Now, out of this, 50 million are illiterate people and cannot fully participate in the political, democratic, and economic life of the country. So that's a matter of concern.
So how it can be handled, how it can be challenged?
Well, I think first of all, actually, the government has already a policy paper, which is excellent. And they were actually kind enough to negotiate with the NGOs, with the donor community. Everybody gave his inputs. It has been approved. So I think now the Bureau for Non-Formal Education has been established. And they're getting into gear and they start moving. And I think they're quite open also to cooperate with the NGO, some key NGOs who have gathered a lot of experience on how to impart literacy. Because it's not only a matter of just learning the alphabet, it's a matter of motivating people. Very often they're more motivated learning a skill or what we call income-generating skill, like electrician or improving farming or improving fishing or maybe honey gathering, whatever is the skill, or weaving. But that will transform itself into more income. And as they go about learning the skill, they also start getting interested in reading and writing, because you have to know instructions, you have to be able to read instructions and you know, educate yourself. But otherwise, only learning the alphabet, there's nothing to read and write in the villages. That's another big problem, but which will take more than a generation maybe to overcome. We have published small books, but reading and writing alone is not enough. I think the combination of actually skills training, literacy and microcredit. Yeah. So thanks to Professor Yunus, he has developed that concept of microcredit, but microcredit alone also does not get you out of poverty. But the combination of skills, income generating skills, literacy and microcredit, you have a good chance to improve your livelihood, to improve your level of living and the quality of life.
Yeah, there is some no doubt there is a very close link between the rate of illiteracy and the situation of the poverty here in Bangladesh. Yes. So you think that it is still a very daunting challenge for Bangladesh to meet the target of?
I think it's a daunting challenge, but I mean it's nothing impossible. I mean other countries have done it. I very often refer to Sri Lanka, for instance, Malaysia, Thailand, who have attacked primary education and adult literacy and learning at the same time. And all these countries have had excellent results because the commitment was there and the implementation, the action was there, but attacking both at the same time.
Dr. Vollman, we shall talk on your cultural activities from UNESCO's part and other programs here in Bangladesh. Dr. Vollman, we are talking about the cultural heritage, and you have taken some programs days back. I think it was you have started a program in 1985 and launched a campaign for preserving some cultural sites, preserving cultural heritage in Bangladesh. So, would you please tell us about your programs in this context?
You see, Bangladesh, there are two World Heritage Sites. I mean, in physical heritage sites, Bagherat, city of mosques, and Pahapur Buddhist Vihara. These have been declared World Heritage Sites, and since they have become World Heritage Sites, there have been considerable, I mean, conservation activities going on. In the last years, at least ever since I've taken my function here, we try to bring on in also, I mean, expertise from the outside looking at it, particularly Pahapur, because we think somehow if it is a World Heritage Site, it does belong to mankind, not only to Bangladesh and Bangladeshi people. Other people are very interested indeed. Pahapur is a Buddhist vihara. I mean, many Buddhist people outside the country are interested in this very unique site. Bagherat, again, I mean, many of these monuments are dating to the pre-Mughal, dating back to the pre-Mughal period, are quite unique, and they deserve attention. So we've been publishing actually several documents. We've been bringing in foreign experts for the conservation. We are right now doing a drainage study on Pahapur. We are planning to bring out a complete catalogue of all the terracotta of Pahapur, and there are more than 2,000. And this is also to prevent either destruction or prevent theft, because some of the terracotta have been destroyed or have disappeared. So it's very urgent to have a complete catalogue, well documented. And in this connection, actually, the Department of Archeology is helping us a lot on the Ministry of Education.
But 2 to 3 months back, I also visited the Pahapur Vihara. But the way it has been conserved and preserved, I found it not so much, not so satisfactory.
Well, that's right. I mean, the expertise sometimes required is not always available, you see. I think the Department of Archeology is trying its best. But in the country, you see, basically Bangladesh has, in the field of university and the academic level, there's only one single department where archaeology is being taught. And that's not enough. If you look at the neighboring country like India, has hundreds or dozens of departments of archaeology in the various universities. Even a smaller country like Thailand has also dozens of departments, but there's only one here in Jahangirnagar University. So this not lack of expertise, but there are not enough people around to advise the government properly on how to preserve. Efforts have been made in Bahapur, I think, but much more needs to be done in terms of even the surroundings, access roads, facilities nearby, security. I have seen changes even in the last 4 or 5 years because I was able to come very regularly. I've seen positive changes. And I've seen also that actually the majority of visitors Bahapur are local people.
Yep.
Majority of visitors come from the surrounding areas. And I think they also need they deserve a better welcome.
Yeah.
They don't have the facilities sometimes, like restaurants or, toilets and things like that.
For the tourists?
For the tourists, for the visitors, yes.
Yeah. But so how did you or would you draw attention to the importance of the cultural heritage? What actions from your part you have taken?
Well, quite a number. I mean, first of all, publications. We are in the process of publishing the catalogue on terracotta. Yeah. We did publish 2 books on Hindu temples, but this has nothing to do with Bahapur. In 5 days, we will publish a major book on mosque architecture in Bangladesh as well. So this is an effort to document actually the cultural heritage of Bangladesh. You see, there are some publications, but sometimes there's not enough academic work being done. And also you do need some visual material. So these books, these publications that we have brought out, combine both an academic documentation with excellent photography joined in the book. So I think this is one thing. We, in the field of literacy, for instance, we published easy-to-read materials, but on cultural heritage sites, so that the neo-literates, or young people even, learn about Bahapur, Mainamoti, Lalbagh Fort, the Kantaji Temple, all these things which are actually not known to many people. And by publishing very simple books to read, these people, neo-literates, they learn what is the history of Bahapur, for instance.
Dr. Vollman, we heard that there is an international convention on the preservation of intangible cultural heritage.
Right.
So we would like to know about what is intangible or tangible. And one more thing, that did Bangladesh ratify that convention?
Well, the intangible heritage as a definition is simply actually anything that is not physically, you can't touch it physically. So obviously this is music, dance, but maybe also poetry, paintings, and other cultural expressions. There's a convention. It has been voted by all the member states of UNESCO. I think Bangladesh is in the process of ratifying the convention. But already Bangladesh got recognition in the intangible field. The Baul songs and Baul music have been recognized as a sort of masterpiece of the world intangible heritage.
I learned that that you studied the cultural history of South Asia.
Yes.
In Free University Berlin.
Yeah, yeah.
So what are the most exciting thing you learn about the cultural history?
Well, you see, South Asia is such a huge subcontinent, of course. And when I came in the 60s and
You're basically German national.
Yes.
Okay.
In 65, 66, I came the first time to India at the time. I mean, what was striking is definitely the social composition of India. But I think what really struck me at the time was the music, dance expressions, which cover the entire subcontinent. I mean, the entire of South Asia. And when I came to Bangladesh, I mean, definitely you can find many traces, but adapted and transformed according to the history of the country. You see, it's not what you find here, it's not what you find maybe in India or in West India or in South. It has nothing to do. This is typically Bangladeshi.
You also work on the communications and information technology, yes. Some programs you do have. Here I found that in 2003, UNESCO published a research manual to evaluate the potential role of new information and communication technologies on eradication poverty here in Bangladesh. So what are the basic things you just explained in your research manual?
I think the idea of this publication was, I mean, how can ICTs or this information technology contribute to the reduction of poverty? Poverty is the big issue, everybody talks about it. But it always brings me back to illiteracy, because these are the poorest people, actually. Do they need ICT? But to a certain extent. I mean, what we do now with a certain number of NGOs, elaborating software in Bangla, of course, simple software to be produced on a screen, because electricity is spreading out. So you see more and more computers in community learning centers, for instance. And then get people to learn not only Bangla, but issues on water, health, maybe skills training, legal issues, marriage, dowry, but in a way which, once these people are semi-literate, they can follow. This is a very simple text. So this is the way of using literacy for, improving livelihoods, but by using the medium of ICT, the medium of a computer and software.
Okay.
So we're working very closely with a series of NGOs to develop more softwares in Bangla, because there's a lot available in English, but that's not good. It has to be adapted, translated, and adapted into Bangla.
Dr. Vollman, after serving 4.5 years, you're going back home. So what will be your lasting memories you're taking back home from Bangladesh?
Well, there are too many memories, I think. Maybe the monsoon seasons, maybe the countryside, maybe traffic jams in Dhaka. I think these are the things that one takes home. But I think the lasting memory is definitely coming back to culture. Is the very rich cultural heritage which is prevailing in the country, and sometimes ignored by people. But I think this is something that one definitely, even going back, which I try to continue to bring outside to the mind of people and say, this is, it's not only a poor country, but it's also culturally very rich.
Dr. Vollman, thank you very much, and we hope that you will visit again in Bangladesh.
Definitely will. Thank you.
Dear viewers, Dr. Vollman reaffirmed the right of people to education. This is the foundation of nation's determination, singly and together, to ensure education for all by 2015. He believes this is the time to informing the global community of the rich heritage, diverse social milieu, harmonious coexistence, and potentials that we have in Bangladesh, and obviously that will help us in nation building, ensuring prosperity, stability, and progress for each and every Bangladeshi. Dear viewers, we thank you indeed. See you then. Do take care. Bye-bye.